You've hit Beltline Construction, brought to you by Calvin College Media Production. Here's your host, Grand Rapids personal trainer, Mighty Joe.
Welcome back. This is episode 7 of Beltline Construction. I am your host, Mighty Joe Stankowski from GrandRapidsPersonalTrainer.com. We've already talked about a lot of things in this series. We talked about the prom date guideline for fitness, which basically means painless range of motion, demonstrating acceptable technique. We don't want you to get hurt. We've talked about the 5 basic movement patterns where we can push, we can pull, we can bend, we can twist, and we can do level changes. We've used a few different training tools, and today we're going to focus really on a tool that used to be a toy. It was actually developed back in the 1950s in Italy as a toy, and it's worked its way into the fitness industry over the years. And now we're going to use it today. So we have stability balls. And if I could have my wonderful assistant Travis come in here today, and he's going to kind of demonstrate a few of these movements we're going to do. Some are going to look familiar because we've done the basic movements, because again, there's only 5 things that we can possibly do. But we're going to start off with one of the most basic, which is a push-up. And hopefully you're feeling good today and didn't bench heavy this morning. So what we're going to show 2 different ways that we can actually do a push-up. First one's with our hands on the ball. And just like when you learn to drive a car, you want to try to have your hands where it's around 10 and 2 position. And you're going to lower your chest down towards the ball, push back up, simple enough, right? I see he's doing a really good job here. The ball wants to move a little bit, it's going to wiggle around. One way we can make this a bit more stable is to spread the feet a little bit wider. So let's actually take a wider base. And some people might argue that this defeats the purpose of having a stability ball, or an instability ball if you'd like. But we need to be able to train within the prom date guideline. He's getting a little shaky here, so we could call this a set for this one. And we're going to do is the version 2. So we're going to put the ball underneath knees, shins, hips possibly, depends how strong he's feeling on this one. A lot more like the traditional push-up, still keeping his head pulled back and leading with his chest, not his chin. And there we go. And if you've ever done a drop set in a gym, where you might use a selectorized weight machine, and you might have a certain amount of weight in there, you get to where you can't do another repetition, so you're going to back off and change the weight a little bit less, and then you can continue going. Same thing here. So if Travis gets tired and he can't do another push-up, he could back up maybe a foot or so, and then get a few more reps, and hopefully not end up in the stability ball rack. Looking good. So this is push-ups. There's a couple different ways we could do these. Next one we're going to work with, we're going to stand up. And in the last episode, we talked about rear foot elevated squats, where we had our foot on a bench, and it's a single leg exercise, but today we're going to use it with the ball. And what this does, it makes you have to really stay a lot more honest with the movement. So your foot's going to go in here, and you're going to have one up in front. And kind of like a lunge, kind of like a single leg squat, kind of like a lot of hard work. You see, as he lowers down, he pushes out, and this is the tough part. This is what we got to challenge right here. And this is, I think, the beauty of a stability ball, is that it forces you to have to really train slow and controlled. Good. He's staying tall through his spine, keeping his shoulder over his hip, over his knee, over his foot, if you look at his left side right there. And that's what using the ball really forces you to do. It gives you no opportunity to really cheat, because if you do cheat the movement even a little bit, you tend to wipe out. Okay, moving on from there, we're going to do an overhead press. And people traditionally would do an overhead press where you have your weights, your dumbbells, whatever you might use, and you're pushing from the floor to the ceiling. And that is overhead by most definitions. But we're going to change the angle of the exercise. So overhead is now away from his hips, in line with his head, in line with the spine, and there we go. So overhead is still overhead relative to his body, but compared to gravity, it's a little different. What we're going to see here is that all these muscles here are really working a lot harder. If you're going to wipe out, you want to slide back a little bit. There you go. And so the ball's really a prop in this one, not like with the push-up where we actually had to fight, challenging ourselves all over the place. So here we're using it just as a prop to hold you in sort of an angled position. So if you need to put your knees on the floor, or you need to put your feet against the wall or something to keep yourself from wiping out, it's just a way that we can do that is using the ball as a prop. And really forcing those lines, or forcing your arms to stay in line with your spine. Another thing we'd add to this, at the top, rather than just coming straight up, I want to get another plane of motion involved here. So I want to try to actually get some rotation, almost like you're clapping at the top. Okay. So on the whip, I want to try to bring your palms as if they're coming together. Yep, so you're going to come together at the top and rotating, like you're clapping. Perfect, there you go. So we get another plane of motion in from the shoulders, which is hard to do to get. If you're using a barbell, your hands are locked. When you're using body weight and dumbbells, wherever you might have available, you can move any way that you like to. From there, we're going to move on to really a tough one. It's a prone tuck. If you've ever done crunches before, which I'm not a big fan of crunches, and if I see any viewers doing crunches anywhere, just watch it, because I'm going to be coming for you. What we're going to do is we're going to set ourselves up in a prone position, a lot like the push-up. Going to be kind of mid-shin to knee or so. And from here, Travis is going to stay really tall through his spine and pull his knees right towards his chin. There you go. And so it's a little bit of a tuck, bringing the pelvis towards his rib cage. And so this is we'll call the easy version of the exercise. From here, I want to go into a pike movement, very similar, but here again, now we're going to keep the hands on the floor, tall spine. I want to try to bring his hips up in the air, and his legs are going to stay straight. And we're going to be an inverted V sort of shape. We got to think happy thoughts in this one, because this is a tough one, definitely. And so this isn't like a crunch or sit-up because we're forced not just to move in the single plane that a crunch or a sit-up would do, but we actually have to worry about not falling left or right as well. We can take a break from that one. We're going to move on to the last move. And what we'll see here is that we're going to lie face up on the floor for a move that's called SHELC, S-H-E-L-C. It's an acronym, of course, for supine hip extension leg curl. And again, just like when you drive a car, you want to have your feet, which of course you're not driving with your feet, but you want to keep your feet at that 10 and 2 position. Or maybe you do drive with your feet. We don't know what Travis does sometimes. I kind of wonder about him. First thing you want to do is you want to have your palms turned up. And just like when you learn to ride a bike, you could use another analogy here, the wider you go, the more stable you are. So if we start out here with a wide base, we don't have to worry about falling over. And as he gets a little bit better at the move, we're going to bring his hands in a little bit narrower. From here, we're supine, face up. Hip extension, which he's got right here. He's bringing his hips up, and we're going to add the leg curl to it. So as his hips come even higher, he's going to bring his heels towards the backside and extend back out, slow and controlled. Looking pretty good right here, and breathing somewhere along the way too. Oxygen and brain cells are a lot like chocolate and peanut butter. You want to make sure they always mix together. It's the best way to have them. So we can get one more right here. And after this, we're going to take it into actual workout now. So I'm going to step back out of the way a little bit and just kind of talk Travis through this and give you some talking points to keep an eye on for yourself when you're doing these at home. Again, prom date, don't get hurt. Painless range of motion, demonstrating acceptable technique. Okay, ready to actually put this to work now and do all of them? Okay, we're going to take push-ups, take your pick if you're going to do hands on the ball or knees on the ball or anything in between. Just want to see what you got. So here we go. We're going to do about 12 to 15 repetitions, what we'll go for today. So again, we got a lot of action to cover here, and of course it's a short show. Good. Travis is obviously a fine-tuned machine. There we go. And going from there, we're going to move on to the rear foot elevated squat. And any of these moves that you're doing at home, do it at your own speed. You don't have to keep up with Travis because he's a strong, fit guy. He's healthy. He's been doing stuff like this for a while. This one's a little more challenging because he's a strong bencher, and like a lot of guys, especially, they lift weights, but they never really train for balance and stability and stuff like this. So it's just a really good exercise to include, especially if you have problems with it. Good. We're going for some good depth on this one. And depth is going to be dependent how far you can control the move. If he starts going so far and his back starts to curve a little too much, we have to change maybe the size of the ball is one way to do it. Another thing we can do when we're using stability balls for a workout, we're on a hard surface with a very firm ball. If we went into a shag carpeting from 1973 and had a slightly deflated ball, it's going to really slow down the entire movement. Going to go from there onto the prone overhead press. So we're going to use the ball as a prop. We're going to be pushing overhead again, and overhead changes with body position. Good. And really emphasizing to stay tall through your spine. And as stable as you need to be using your lower body as a prop, kind of like a tripod, really. Good. As far as the rep range that we're going for, talking 12 to 15 is what we've been saying so far. It's not set in stone. I mean, if you want to do maximal effort, you could do maybe 2 or 3 reps with some heavy weight involved. You might even want to do more repetitions, depending on what your own specific goals are and what you're trying to get out of training and your experience and everything else that goes into it. Prom dates are guideline for all these things. Prone tuck, if you're ready for that one. So kind of that push-up position. Bring your knees up towards your chin, tall through the spine. You got it. Fine-tune machine. Check them out. And still breathing. Still have some life here. It's a good thing. And another way you could really make this more challenging still, which we won't do on this set, we might do it a little bit later on in another episode, we can start to put more rotation with the lower body. So almost imagine slaloming on skis. Is slaloming a word? I just think I might just made that one up. And from there we're going to flip over and do the SHELC. It's going to be our last one. And every exercise is going to have progressions and regressions. So if something is just way too challenging, I want to make sure that you understand you can change this into some way that you can do it. One of the neatest, I think, progressions for this one to make it tougher is to go single leg. But I know that we're getting close to ending up the show for today. Again, I'm Mighty Joe. This is Beltline Construction. So till next time, I want you to keep training like you mean it. We're going to keep doing this workout right here. So keep going along with us. If you don't have a stability ball, get one. It's a great tool. You could use it as a chair in your office, in your home, watch TV on it, and keep going to work. And here we go, single leg. All right, train like a champ now. Good job. Keep it going. Hips up. Excellent. Oh, it's a tough one. Might need to go 2 legs. Good job.